there is no prejudice, no segregation between foreign investors and local investors.
ZIDA, the Zimbabwe Investment and Development Agency, is a government agency inviting global investors into Zimbabwe to give your business the best home in Africa. We speak today to the CEO of ZIDA Invest, Duduzile Shinya, on how you could tap into the opportunities for business and investment in Zimbabwe. Hello, it's so great to have you here on the show with us today.
Thank you, Neha. Very good to be here with you.
Yes. So if you had to describe ZIDA in one word, what would you say? Okay.
Well, the one word was game changer. And the second is to assist in terms of transforming the country.
Okay, great. That's wonderful. So can you tell me a little bit about your role as CEO of ZIDA before I get into the company as such?
Okay. So currently I'm the acting CEO of ZIDA, and that basically entails overseeing the day-to-day operations of the investment development agency. It involves interacting with investors. It involves looking for investors to cover the various sectors in Zimbabwe that are looking for investment. So I think Zimbabwe is at a very delicate stage where there's a lot of opportunities, a lot of areas for potential development. And it's key that we find the right partners in terms of just opening up and having economic development come through to the country.
Okay. So can you give me an idea of these different sectors that probably you all have a lot of potential in Zimbabwe?
Definitely. So mining is one of the biggest. We do have an abundance of various, resources, mineral resources, rare earth minerals. So there's a lot of opportunity in terms of, getting into the mining sector, whether it's just, mining for ore or it's actually processing into, value-added products. That is one of the biggest areas of opportunity. The agricultural sector as well. We've got perfect weather for growing various crops. So you find that, being a hub of Africa, we're very central in Africa. We can actually then grow agricultural products, process where they need processing, and then export, outside of Zimbabwe. Manufacturing is another key sector. When we say manufacturing, a couple of years ago, maybe 10, 15 years ago, Zimbabwe was very well known for textile industry, as well as, just manufacturing, whether it was light industrial products or heavy industrial products. And we're saying that needs to come back. We're not going to go into the reasons why we moved away from that, but those opportunities are there. The opportunities for reindustrialization, the opportunities for bringing in the latest technology in terms of, improving efficiencies for companies that are producing. There's a lot of traction on that front. Another key sector is infrastructure. So we've got a lot of potential growth, and we believe that in order to lead that growth process, we need to have the correct infrastructure in place. So your road networks, rail networks, your basic internet. We really want super fast internet, electricity. The opportunities are vast.
So can you tell me what are probably the opportunities that are unique to Zimbabwe that probably someone wouldn't get from any other African country?
That's a difficult question. The one that quickly comes to mind is the tourism sector. So there's an abundance of different landscapes, in the country. You go from the mountainous, very cool, temperate climate to, the arid, low-felt, type weather where there's a lot of game. We've got the mighty Victoria Falls, seventh wonder of the world, a national heritage site. There's also development. We're talking about development to the north. It's to the northwest of the country. So coming from Victoria Falls, along the Zambezi River, going towards Kariba, We call that the Batoka corridor going towards Kanyemba. That is, it's prime land. In an area called Binga, for example, we've got white beaches. The first time I saw it, when people had talked about white beaches in Zimbabwe, I thought, yeah, all right. But they're beautiful. And it's a mountainous area. The climate is perfect, for just laying in the sand and sunbathing. So that is definitely one of the key prime opportunities, I think, that I know are very unique.
Okay, that's great. So can you tell me about the different opportunities, probably specifically, that the investors could gain in Zimbabwe?
So we have, I'm going to talk about two types of investment. So there's one type of investment, which is, your partnerships, public-private partnerships. And then there's also investment opportunities where an investor can come in and invest on their own without having to partner with the public sector or government itself. So when it comes to investing in government assets or together with government, we as a government, we've got certain areas that we will then focus on to say, for example, there's road infrastructure in certain places. We also want to re-look at our air networks to say, we need to redo our airports. We need to re-look at Zimbabwe being a hub for African travel, even flights, directly from Harare back into the EU. Or into Europe in general. We haven't had flights, to Europe in the last 2-3 years. We're saying that there's those opportunities to then partner. But there's opportunities where a private player will see an opportunity to partner with government. So, for example, a private player may have a piece of land or know somebody who has a piece of land, and they want to come in on that piece of land and partner with government, for example, maybe to manufacture a fertilizer. Because we do have the raw materials for fertilizer. We've got a shortage of fertilizer. So I'm just saying it may be an opportunity that somebody would see themselves going into. At the same time, when you talk about opportunities for private players to come in on their own, we've had certain instances where somebody decides they want to come and do gold mining, and they have a piece of land, or they are able to access, a mining grant or, a special grant. And they actually go in and they start mining on their own. They buy, the piece of property, they invest in the property 100% on their own. So the opportunities are there where, a foreign company would see themselves coming into manufacture. One example, we used to manufacture steel. We're going back into steel production. And we already have a private investor who would like to come in and manufacture railway wagons. So, the idea is that there will be this move towards using more rail. There'll be more items to transport on rail, and they would like the opportunity of actually setting up their own business to actually manufacture the railway wagons.
If I had to ask, what is the scale of business that Zimbabwe at this point is prepared for?
The scale of business is it's significant. It's very difficult to quantify at the moment because the opportunities are quite vast. We're still at the beginning of getting our feet on the ground, sorting out some of this infrastructure in terms of power generation, for example, is so critical so that at least we can then build scale. As the manufacturers come in, there have to be plans in terms of how we're going to generate more power, in terms of being able to increase capacity. In terms of skills, we do have, skilled labor force from various sectors, as well as at various levels, from senior managerial all the way down to, your craftsmen and artisans.
So are there any misconceptions that you feel like people may have about, someone coming in and investing in Zimbabwe that you would like to clear up through this interview?
When it comes to misconceptions, I think there are quite a few. People talk about how difficult it is to do business in Zimbabwe. And it does seem difficult. And it's a journey that we have to travel as Zimbabweans to fix that problem or that situation. But as ZIDA, we do have a one-stop investment center, which sits within our offices. We have government representatives that actually sit in our office. So your company registration may take a little bit longer if you try to do it on your own. But through our office, it's taking 2 days. We would like to bring that down to a couple of hours, but it does is taking 2 days within our office. So we do work very closely with other government units to try and quicken the processes. And in quickening the processes, we then want to roll that out to say, this needs to be the standard way of doing business. So I think that has been an area of concern for a lot of investors.
So I want to ask, how does the government support investors from their end? How would that happen?
Okay, so in terms of support, previously there were challenges in terms of how is foreign currency remitted. So if I'm an investor and I invest my US dollars, which are coming from outside the country, how do I get them out? If I need to pay, a dividend to shareholders, if I need to repatriate my initial investment. So at the point of registration, there is a concerted effort between the Reserve Bank and also Zeda. We work together, all our licensed investors, and we ensure that we facilitate for remittances. One thing that I know is critical for an investor is to know from other investors that this can actually happen, because I'll be talking as a government employee. So, we do have a few investors who have now come forward and they're able to give testimonials. So we will be putting some of those testimonials on our website so that at least you hear it directly from businesses that have experienced this. And it's been verified that government is giving this particular support. We also have support in the area of ownership, to say that, ownership rights are respected in our country, and we do give support. So one of the roles of Zeda is to ensure that those protections are actually given to investors, and we will advocate, and stand by the investor to make sure that they realize that sort of protection.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So are the banks stable at the moment? I'm just asking since there was an issue not too long ago.
Yes, they are. And I think one of the key things is that as Zimbabweans, we've moved away from the notion that, holding wads of cash, is a thing of the past. We've gone, a lot to electronic banking, digital banking platforms. So you'll see a lot of stability. Even on the inflationary side, month-on-month inflation went up slightly between January and February. But you'll see that there's a lot of stability. I mean, we were in 3-digit inflation just a few months ago, and we've now come to, double-digit and working our way to single digits. So, there's a concerted effort in terms of, fiscal policy reforms, monetary policy reforms, and we're definitely seeing a lot of progress coming through.
Okay, fine. That's great. That's good to hear, actually. It's very reassuring. So I wanted to ask now, how long does this process in total usually take? One, with Zeda involved, and if Zeda was not part of the picture, how long would it take?
So in terms of your investment process, so I did start talking about, registering a company. If you do register your company through Zeda, and supply all the documents in terms of your business plans and what you'd like to do. If it's just a private investment coming in, within 14 days, we'll be able to license you. If it's a public-private partnership, it usually takes about 2 months. So there are various processes where there's liaison between the ministry and the private investor. There's documentation that's written. We've got a public-private partnership committee, which actually sits, on a regular basis, almost every 2 months, to then look at the proposals that are coming in and approve. Once they're approved at that level, they then go to cabinet for approval and then go into either a feasibility study stage or they're going into implementation, depending the nature of the project. Those are the two main types of investment that we have.
Expo 2020, Dubai Expo 2020, I believe that may have given you all a push in terms of people coming in to try and invest in Zimbabwe. So can you tell me if there are any numbers that you could share or about the interest generated in Zeda and the work you all do?
So there's been significant interest generated. And unfortunately, I'm a bit selfish because I only remember the investment interest. So I know there have been a couple of million people that have actually walked through our exhibition. So we've got a pavilion within the Opportunity zone at Dubai 2020. And we've had 500 investment inquiries. And these are just general investment inquiries. The serious ones have been about 25. And when I say serious, we've got 2 companies out of those 25 who've actually come and visited Zimbabwe already to see on the ground where they could potentially operate from. So it's been a great opportunity for us to actually see something coming to fruition.
Okay, that's nice. Are there any other events that you all are planning on probably exhibiting at in the near future?
So we always have, the international trade fairs. For example, there's one in Cape Town, there's one in Durban. There's several that happen throughout the year. At the moment, we don't have any, significant, trade fairs. Well, nothing as big as the expo, but we do have a few small exhibitions that we will do throughout the year.
Okay, that's great. So do you have any memorable anecdotes from probably your time at Zeta? Any story with an investor coming into Zimbabwe, anything that you could probably share with us?
I think for me, the most memorable and the most positive was an investor that came in and had been so frustrated where, they had said that, they'd been trying to deal with various parties. They didn't know really where to start. But once, they met with Zeta officials, the journey then started moving pretty quickly. So from starting with an investment of about 10 million, they ended up investing 60 million. And they've actually opened a mine. So now it's a fully fledged mine. They've done their samples. They're actually now into full production. And, the investor is happy. Production levels are good. They're happy with the grade, of mineral that's coming out of the ground. So, for me, it's exciting to have actually seen that during my tenure here at Zeta.
So there's something called the Zeta Act, if I'm not wrong. So can you tell me a little bit about that?
So in terms of, how we operate as Zeta, we were put in place by the Zeta Act. So it basically determines how we operate. One of the key messages from the Zeta Act, and this is one thing that I love to tell any investor, is that there is no prejudice, no segregation between foreign investors and local investors. So the drive is to say, as Zimbabweans, we also need, to put some money in the game and say, if our country is going to reach the new heights of investment in terms of, or development, we also need to be investing in the country. And hopefully that then gives, foreign investors, some sort of comfort that, they do see their country as being valuable. They also want to grow their country. So discrimination between the two, local investors, foreign investors, they're treated exactly the same, whether it's incentives that are given. One of the key incentives is being able to import equipment duty-free, for example, through a special economic zone. So, it's been able to assist businesses in terms of recapitalizing their businesses, because some businesses in Zimbabwe hadn't recapitalized for 20 odd years. So that opportunity has now come about, and hopefully then they can also operate, more efficiently. So the Act just goes into more detail in terms of the type of investment, your public-private partnerships. It also covers your special economic zones to say how do they operate, what is Zeta's role in the special economic zones, and then it talks about your general investments. So it then spells out various processes, the one-stop shop process to say, how does the one-stop shop operate? So it's generally informative to an investor to say, this is how Zeta is supposed to assist you.
Okay, great. And I also read about an initiative called Zeta Cares. So is that something you can tell me about?
So it's still getting off the ground.
Okay.
It's something that, we've been trying to conceptualize, and we're trying to see how we can take it forward. But we're saying we're not just an organization, we're not just an entity that's concerned about business. there also has to be, the community side, the people side, where we're saying, we are aware that there are various things that are going on. It's more like a corporate social responsibility activity. So there definitely will be more coming through, but we feel that we need to have some sort of balance. So it's not only business, but, let's look out for our community and those around us.
So what are your visions probably for Zida in the next maybe 5 years down the line, or for Zimbabwe as a country with regards to foreign investing 5 to 10 years down the line? If you can just give me what your vision is.
So my vision is for there to be a balance between foreign investment and local investment. I would like to see, foreign investors willing to put in more, because they would have seen that there's actual development that's taking place in the country. I want to see a minimum of 3 of our special economic zones being fully functional, operating and running, capacity utilization at 80%. Just seeing growth, exponential growth, within the private sector and business. So that's my dream. And if I can see that happen, I will have done a good job.
Great. I wish you all the very best.
Thank you for the opportunity. And our doors are always open for inquiries. We're happy for anyone to visit our website. That's zidainvest.com. And we're able to take queries. You can post queries on the website, and we'll ensure that they're responded to within 24 hours. Thank you. Bye.